evening and thank you for joining us. More than 24 passengers were left stranded at the Thunder Bay Airport this morning after a Flair Airlines flight to Toronto suddenly closed off boarding to the plane. The situation led to a lot of upset people arguing with the airline staff and scrambling to find other flights without success. Mitchell Ringos reports.
We were with the pilot going through security, and the pilot told us he would wait for us.
The pilot told everybody here, he said they'll wait for you, don't worry.
This was the scene at the Thunder Bay Airport after 28 passengers were not allowed onto their flight by Flair Airways, the low-cost carrier that just started serving the city in June. One of the passengers left behind, Christopher DeCourt, says everyone was there early enough for the flight, but the one lane of security couldn't get them through fast enough. The pilot was right in front of DeCourt in the security line and assured the passengers they would still get on. But once they were through the gate, it was a very different story, as they were told that the pilot had no authority to let them on since they were late and that they could not board the plane. DeCourt spoke on how the gate staff handled the situation.
And the gate staff said, no, it's too bad we did the paperwork. It's not up to the pilot. We asked, can we get the pilot's word on this? Have you asked? They sat there and argued with us for 10 to 15 minutes. The plane sat at the gate. Then after about 10 minutes or so, the plane ended up leaving the gate, and it was delayed anyways on the tarmac. And then you have all these families, like literally in distress, crying, looking out the window at their plane, which is delayed on the tarmac.
Many of the passengers that are stuck in Thunder Bay had connecting flights that they also missed or family waiting for them back in Toronto. DeCourt says he and the other 27 passengers were very emotional about the situation.
Personally, I'm here because my mother-in-law has passed away. I'm trying to get home to my job, and I might lose my job. This is a real thing. People have to realize that people are going through trouble, and we need to get around this country, and people have to have some empathy for travelers in this country.
Spokesperson for Flair Airlines says there was some trouble this morning, and as of right now, the passengers will be getting refunds to rebook, and if customers have already booked a ticket, they will compensate that cost also. Meanwhile, all other flights to Toronto are fully booked until Friday, leaving the passengers with no other way to get there. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
A trio of Thunder Bay police officers will make their next appearance on Police Act charges later on this month in connection with the Stacey DeBungee death investigation of 2015. The 41-year-old man's body was found in the McIntyre River in October of that year. The next day, city police announced there was no foul play suspected. DeBungee's family later accused police of discrimination and of botching the investigation. In February of this year, after a lengthy legal battle, Police Act charges were laid against the main officers involved in the case. Staff Sergeant Susan Kucharek is facing one count of neglect of duty, while Staff Sergeant Sean Harrison and Sergeant Sean Whipple are charged with neglect of duty and discreditable conduct for failing to protect persons equally during an investigation. A brief teleconference for the three officers is scheduled for August 16th, but a date for a full hearing has not yet been determined. A 39-year-old Thunder Bay man is facing several charges following the alleged sexual assault of a minor over the weekend in the Northwood area. Among the charges the man is facing are sexual assault, sexual interference, and corrupting of children. A publication ban is in place which prevents the release of the accused's name. He's been released from custody following a bail hearing yesterday and will return to court in September. Forest fires continue to threaten northwestern Ontario, with 106 active fires currently burning in the region and another First Nation community now on standby for potential evacuation. Wapsumo First Nation, northeast of Kenora, has declared a state of emergency and has advised residents to prepare for possible evacuation. Planning is ongoing to transport vulnerable community members out first. A major fire, Kenora 51, is burning less than 20 kilometers away. That fire is now close to 189,000 hectares and has several crews, airplanes, and helicopters on scene. In a social media post Sunday, First Nation Chief Waylon Scott said they are receiving updates hourly, and he warned the situation could change rapidly. Meanwhile, Fire Information Officer Jonathan Scott says there were 7 new fires yesterday, and although there has been some precipitation, the weather has not been of much help to their exhausted fire crews.
Recently, there's been really scattered rain with, mixed amounts of rain associated with that. But with that, we've also got lightning come through. And so that started been starting new fires. With the smoky conditions, it's sometimes hard to find the fires.
Scott says there is rain in the forecast for the end of this week, and it is much needed that they get help with the fire situation under control. But if lightning continues to occur, it will prevent any positive progress. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting 2 new COVID-19 cases today. Both are in the Thunder Bay area and are linked to travel outside of northwestern Ontario. 2 other cases have been resolved over the long weekend, so there are now 3 active cases across the district. Meanwhile, weekly vaccination numbers continue to fall, with more and more people now fully vaccinated. Just over 5,000 vaccines were administered last week. That's about 3,500 fewer than the week before, and down from a weekly high of nearly 17,000 earlier in July. According to the health unit, nearly 80% of eligible people 12 and up have gotten at least 1 shot, and 68% are fully immunized. According to the province, however, which calculates based on a lower population total, 85% of eligible people in the district have received 1 dose, and 74% are fully vaccinated. The Ontario government has now released its long-awaited return to school plan. The Ford government says all students in elementary and secondary schools will be in the classroom every day for the full school day. All students in grades 1 to 12 will have to wear masks while indoor. And remote learning will remain an option, with school boards told to have a plan in place to move back online quickly in the event of a potential closure. Meanwhile, the province of Ontario is reporting less than 170 new COVID cases per day over the past 2 days. But even though fears of a spike in new cases following the move to Step 3 of reopening hasn't materialized, there are still concerns the Delta variant will lead to a 4th wave of the pandemic as we move towards fall. Colin DeMello reports.
More than 2 weeks after entering Step 3, and Ontario's COVID-19 case count has yet to surge. A promising sign as the province looks to move past the pandemic. But at the same time, infectious disease specialists are keeping a close watch on the highly transmissible Delta variant.
You look at a place like the southern part of the United States where you have some pockets where there's just not the same degree of coverage, and you're watching Delta explode in various counties. It's just, you've got healthcare systems that are, transferring people out to other healthcare systems because they're getting overwhelmed. It's reminiscent of the bad old days when we were experiencing something similar.
Here in Ontario, already some public health officials say there is a shift.
We are starting to notice increasing exposures and increasing outbreaks, and that's expected as contact and interactions increase. What we do need to keep a close eye on is whether hospitalizations and mortality follow. I suspect that our high rates of immunization will continue to blunt that and support our efforts to reduce those.
There are concerns that a 4th wave would coincide with a return to school, especially as unvaccinated children return to the classroom, which is why the Ford government is being pressed to keep classrooms as safe as possible.
We need to invest in safe schools to minimize any further disruptions to our children's education. We have to prevent those outbreaks, prevent those exposures, and guarantee that our kids will be safely in school without any future need to be out of school.
But should another wave occur, some infectious disease specialists say it should be treated differently.
Waves are not something that we can avoid. Waves happen with respiratory viruses, but for the most part, vaccination does protect us against a lot of this severe disease, and that's why I think that this wave, though it will happen, it's going to be something much less severe as before.
Saying vaccines are the best way out of the worst case scenario.
Thunder Bay Art Gallery has asked the federal government for additional funding for the new facility it plans to build on the city's waterfront. Ottawa has already committed $15 million to the project from 2 funding sources. Now, Gallery Director Sharon Godwin says they're hoping for more money from Infrastructure Canada's Green and Inclusive Community Building Fund to create a net carbon neutral facility. Godwin declined to reveal how much the gallery is asking for. The $33 million project also received $5 million from the city, as well as support from the province. The 38,000 square foot building at Marina Park will be twice as large as the current gallery near Confederation College. Construction has been delayed for several years due to soil issues, then COVID, and now a rise in the cost of building materials. Godwin says the gallery will provide an update to the community in late fall regarding tendering and the start of construction. The Labour Action Centre for laid-off Bombardier workers and their families reopened its doors today for in-person services after being restricted to only virtual services since the end of December last year. The goal is to provide greater assistance to about 150 former workers at the local railcar plant who still are in search of gainful employment. The Unifor office on Gore Street now offers access to short-term courses such as working at heights training, CPR and first aid, and assistance in resume building in order to better prepare people to re-enter the workforce. The LAC has also partnered with agencies such as Yes Employment to facilitate more long-term training for pursuing a new career path. Center Coordinator Stephen Marguerite says for many of his former colleagues, the situation was only worsened by the pandemic.
For a good chunk of our clients, it's been since November 2019 when they were originally laid off, and it's almost coming up on 2 years that they've been trying, but with the multiple lockdowns and stay-at-home orders, companies aren't hiring people, they're not really looking, everything's been sort of in limbo.
Laid off workers are invited to consult the Labour Action Centre's website or Facebook page to stay up to date on employment opportunities and other services, as well as visiting the office on Gore Street. A pair of local Indigenous schools are getting millions in federal and provincial funding for some much-needed improvements. Dennis Franklin Cromartie High School and the Matawa Education and Care Centre will see some major renovations as part of a $37 million funding package earmarked for mainly Northern Ontario. Ryan Benazzo has more.
Some major upgrades are coming to Dennis Franklin Cromartie High School to allow students to safely return to the classroom. The federal and provincial governments will fund $9.6 million worth of renovations through the Investing in Canada infrastructure program, which is meant to address COVID-19 challenges. Local MP and Health Minister Patty Hajdu made the announcement on Tuesday morning.
Things like plumbing and electrical system updates, repairs to the roof, interior repairs to drywall and classrooms and lighting. I've had an opportunity to tour Dennis Franklin Cromartie in my own region, and it's an amazing school with so much to offer students. And so preserving that school's infrastructure is really important for the generations of learners that will come through it.
The Matawa Education and Care Centre on Lily Street is also getting $3.8 million for a new gymnasium. The gym was supposed to be built as part of a $24 million government funding package that Matawa got in 2018, but the pandemic has led to a dramatic increase in construction costs.
As the project wore on, we kind of ran out of funding, or we're short, so this ISIP program approached us, and we worked with both levels of government on achieving this.
There's construction going on all around the facility, but work hasn't yet begun on the gym itself, which will be located here behind me. Nate says it will be a full-size gymnasium. Without this money from Ottawa and the province, it either would have been much smaller or not included at all.
It'll improve the mental health of the kids and also their confidence, their level of confidence and their ability to acquire more skills, within the, with having a gymnasium. There'll be a fitness center involved in there, and, where they can work out and practice their skills like boxing, karate.
The Education Centre is prepared to welcome up to 200 students for in-person learning by the second semester of the upcoming academic year. Other facilities receiving funding include the Kanachahi Treatment Centre in Sioux Lookout Student and Family Housing, and Pelican Falls High School. Ryan Benazzo, TBT News.
Another popular city-run facility has reopened its doors as part of Step 3 of the provincial framework. After 5 months of closure, Thunder Bay's 55 Plus Centre is back up and running, offering a wide variety of activities for older adults who are looking to stay active. Limited seating is now available in the facility's River Street Cafe, while takeout options remain available. Patrons can reserve time slots for the billiard room, which opens tomorrow, and the library is accessible Tuesdays and Fridays from 10 until 3. Tessa Hetrick, the program volunteer coordinator for 55 Plus, says they're thrilled to begin welcoming back guests to the facility.
It's very exciting for us to be open. This center is often referred to as a senior's home away from home. So for us to be able to be reopened and be able to have the physical, mental, and social activities again available to seniors, it's a really big step for us, and we're so happy to be here.
I've been here for quite a few years volunteering, and I've been enjoying every minute of it. It's fun seeing people come in, and really happy to be back. It's been a long time, and as I said, you miss seeing the people come, and I enjoy that very much.
Anyone aged 55 or older is welcome to drop in weekdays from 8:30 to 4:30, and program registration for fall season begins August 11th. The center's special events will be held off for the remainder of 2021 to ensure the health and safety of all participants.
Great to be opening up again. I don't know about you, if I walked into that billiards